A little late. I'd first like to thank, of course, our great county executive, Mike Hine. I say it each time I'm here. I deal with a lot of county executives, have over the years. He's one of the very best I've seen. He's conscientious, he's hardworking, he's smart, he's not political, he just gets the job done. And I also want to thank our great sheriff, Paul Van Larkham, for doing the great job that he does. I've worked long and hard in Ulster County on law enforcement issues, and it's good to have a sheriff who knows what he's doing. And I thank you, men and women, who serve our new sheriff. We're here to talk about a spike in drug abuse, which threatens to steal away lives of young people, turn neighborhoods into a hotbed of crime, and derail efforts to build safe and healthy communities. We're losing too many young adults to this scourge, particularly in Ulster County, where the rise in heroin is beyond alarming. There's a rise in heroin almost everywhere. We know that. We know as young people got hooked on prescription drugs, the Vicodins and the hydrocodones and things like that, that the heroin, the evil people who deal in heroin came in. They're similar drugs, they're opioids. The heroin was actually cheaper as we started clamping down on prescription drug abuse, but it has taken a real toll. And here are the numbers. Ulster County says heroin arrests have increased by 64% between 2014 and 2015. That's huge. And that is despite the fact that 2015 isn't over yet. We're just halfway through. According to Urgent, everyone knows what Urgent is, the Ulster Regional Gang Enforcement Narcotics Team, heroin seizures have tripled between 2007 and 2014. And here are some other stats. Between 2007 and 2015, the Urgent team in Ulster seized 16,000 decks of heroin. According to Urgent, there were more than 1,700 decks seized in 2014 alone. What's more alarming, there have been 4,800 decks seized between January and July of this year. Just listen to that. 1,700 in 2014, 4,800 in half of 2015. That is one alarming increase. And what's happened is this. These drug gangs, starting outside America, because heroin isn't grown in America, the opium isn't grown in America, they target the Hudson Valley. They come often, the drugs come into New York City, and they come up the Hudson Valley. And you can see that by these numbers. It's good that our law enforcement here is doing such a good job. They're getting more of the seizures, but that shows you how much more drugs there are. So, this is a trend that has to be stopped. Some of you might even remember hearing about the record-breaking Operation Spring Cleaning from Ulster last year, where the Ulster County Police brought in 40 drug trafficking arrests. They seized 1,000 bags of heroin. The amount seized at this one high-profile drug bust was about 400 bags shy of the total amount of bags seized in 2011 and 12. So the problem's getting worse, despite the best efforts of the two men up here and the men and women who work for them. It's not a problem counties can address on their own. If the heroin were grown in Ulster County, refined in Ulster County, and marketed in Ulster County, you'd say it's an Ulster County problem. But not only is this stuff not grown and marketed here, grown and refined here, it's often done outside the United States. So there's a limit to what the folks can do here. Now, the statistics are large, but just think of it in terms of people. How many of us have had families come to us? I have had it on so many occasions, too many, where a mother or dad says, I lost my child to a heroin overdose. Fine young man or woman in their late teens or early 20s. Some of them got addicted because they were athletes and then got assigned after an injury to Vicodin, got hooked on it, and then went over to heroin. Others had other difficulties. But it just breaks your heart to see these families, and they'll never recover. You lose a child to drug addiction, you never, ever, ever recover. A hole stays in your heart the rest of your life. So we have to do everything we can. We have to help the good work being done here by Ulster County law enforcement. And one of the best tools we have at the federal level, of course, is HIDA. It stands for High Intensity Drug Trafficking Area. It does two important things. First, it really makes it easier to share intelligence. If New York City has seen a load of heroin come in, a certain type of heroin being used by a certain gang, if they work with our Ulster County law enforcement, they may know what gangs have the relationship here in Ulster, what distributors have the relationship in Ulster to the gangs doing it down there in New York City. So HIDA shares information because it's national, and they know what's going on. And second, it gets them resources to do their job. And what's great about HIDA is they don't tell the sheriff's department, you have to use this. They give you some money, they sit down together, and there's a plan. What's best for this county? Think of it as a zone defense against drug trafficking. The HIDA would fund intelligence sharing, drug use prevention, drug treatment, and support programs, all of which help law enforcement fight the scourge of heroin. The HIDA designation for Ulster would help supplement the hard work already being done by the county's law enforcement divisions. Having this label would allow for funding of other resources. When the Justice Department hears that you're a HIDA county, they're more likely to give you funding in other areas where we always apply. Now, some of you might say, well, this sounds familiar. It is. That's because Ulster County is no stranger for HIDA. It applied for HIDA last year, but it's the only county in the Hudson Valley that hasn't got it. Dutchess, Rockland, Orange, all got it. We're standing here today because Ulster needs it every bit as much as these other counties. We all know that the heroin seizure and arrest trends are terribly on the rise. So I am here today in Kingston at this beautiful law enforcement building, calling on the federal President's Office of National Drug Control Policy to finally designate Ulster a high drug intensity area, trafficking area, high intensity drug trafficking area. Because doing so will give more resources and more intelligence to fight the scourge of heroin and other drugs. For drug traffickers to do their jobs, they set up wide networks. For law enforcement to do its job, it needs even a bigger network, and that's what HIDA does. I'd like to see more of the money steered where it's needed most to counties like Ulster, which have been plagued by drug abuse. And we're going to come back. When we applied last year, they said that there were certain different parts of the application that weren't done the way they wanted. So we worked closely with the Justice Department and the Sheriff's Office and the County Executive to do it what they want. And I'm optimistic if we make a big push, we can get the HIDA designation this year. And that doesn't stop with HIDA. Last year I asked for an additional $100 million for HIDA, which would help us stamp out the drugs being trafficked from Mexico to New York City and up through the Hudson Valley to focus on that area. And I think we're going to get some increase in HIDA funding as a result of that. Bottom line, the fight against drugs, drug abuse, and the crime that comes with it is a fight we have to win. I remember the early days when crack first reared its ugly head in the United States and in the eastern United States. And unfortunately, not enough was done. And crack got its tentacles into our people, into our young people, created huge spikes in crime. And it took us more than a decade to get that problem under control. We don't want to be the same way with heroin. We don't want to wait till it's too late. So that's why I'm here, and I pledge to our great county executive, our great sheriff, and the men and women who work in law enforcement, I'm going to do everything I can to see we get this HIDA designation this year. As a pro-law enforcement guy, I always have been, I want to do everything I can to see that we get crime down, get drug abuse down, go after the heroin sellers and raiders as best we can. And with that, I want to turn it over to our county executive.